How you doing, folks? So I'm going to talk about my middle part of my tuning. As far as with the wood arrows, I actually had some wood arrows ordered and they just came in. These are cut to 29 inches. They're about a 60-65 spine, which they started out kind of stiff, but I made some other adjustments. Brace height, added a bit to my brace height to help it, and I haven't done anything else. My knock height came down a little bit. I normally shoot a knock height at about 5/8 to 9/16 above center. I think it's right around that right now. I just kept shooting it. You know, if it still was giving me a kind of a stiff read, it wasn't real bad stiff, but I would change my side plate. My side plate would be a thinner side plate, which will kind of straighten the stiff arrow rest of the way out, as long as it ain't too terribly stiff. But they're flying good now. Had the guy I bought them from, he told me to check them with my bow up vertical instead of with a cant. So if you're gonna have any knock height issues, is from what he told me, is you'll see it there. And I did that all the way out to 30 yards and I got good arrow flight. So right now I'm just still checking arrow flight, and after this video, my next video will be with my broadhead, just shooting the broadhead, and we'll see if what I've gotten right now is good. But if you're starting out the tune, after you stretch your string out, I normally start high, which a bow I've got here I'm pretty familiar with, which is the Bear Grizzly. I've got a few of them, and I've shot them for most part of the time I've been shooting traditional archery. But I usually, if I don't know a bow or know where I need to be, I'll just start my knock height, say inch and a quarter above center, and work my way down until I get good arrow flight, and I don't have any porpoising issues or corkscrewing. Porpoising could be from a low knock height, since I'm not bear shafting, so I'm not using a bear shaft along with my flex shaft. That's the way I normally would start out. And I think right now, just like I said, I think it's right at 9/16, ½ inch, somewhere right in there. And I'm setting this bow up for 3 under. It seems, from my eyesight, it helps me get that arrow closer to my eye, and it just kind of helps out. But if you're new and can't consistently make groups, I would hold off tuning until you can consistently shoot a consistent group. Try not to shoot a big group of arrows, because you know, if you get a big enough group and pile them all inside your outside ones, say if you got a 4-inch, 5-inch group and you pack them all in there, it all looks good, but in reality it's still 5-inch group. That's why I try to do it with, you know, minimal amount of arrows I can do, and that'll keep from damaging your arrows and possibly getting hurt if you don't go in checking them for carbon or even wood or aluminum. Aluminum will just bend. Carbon, you know, you'll have little minor cracks, and if you don't check them, then you could have some carbon in your hand or whatnot. So if you shoot a lot of groups, check your arrows pretty regularly, so that way you don't have an accident. But if it's like I said, for new people, new archers getting into it, ain't been shooting too long, I'd wait as long as I can before I tuned. You know, it'll save you a lot of money and a lot of heartache when it comes to that. When I first did it, I think I did it at 4 months or so. Yeah, about 4 months, and it costed me what a dozen carbon shafts costed for gold tip traditionals. I cut them too short. So that's kind of jumping the gun a little too quick. So if I'd have waited more closer to a year, which my form got way better, you know, it'd save me a lot more money and a lot more heartache, you know. And That's the main thing. And all I do right now until I get my broadheads is I'm still double checking my arrow flight. If saying my form is, spot on and my release is what is consistent, it should fly from 10 yards back to right here, which is about 27, 28 yards. So I'm gonna take those shots. I'm gonna start about 10, work my way back to this point, and we'll go down there and see how consistent my form is, and plus where I've got my tune so far. But normally I do bare shaft tune with carbon arrows, but I'm not wanting to cut fletching off these, so I'm kind of doing it a different way than what I'd normally do it. I'm just going to let my broadhead decide my final, because I usually double check with carbons. I'll use my broadhead to tell me whether my tune is good after bare shafting, because I've had an instance where my bare shaft was flying perfect, everything was grouping perfect out to 25, and I couldn't get a broadhead to fly, and come to find out I had a spine issue. So this is kind of a different or a quicker way of doing it. And if I was in searching for the knock height, I would do this process now and then shoot it a little bit and just see how they do, and then put my broadhead on it. And but I'm doing it totally different. So I'm gonna start about 10, come back in 5-yard increments for time's sake, and we'll see what we got. Get away from me. I had one get away from me at 15. That was my fault. So a little high there, but they're pretty much in line. So we'll go down there and check it out for time's sake. I had one get away from me at 15, so I shot another one. So again, while you're trying to tune, if you made a bad shot, take another one and see if it's consistent. But I'm not too much worried about, I guess, accuracy per se. This one out here was my first 15-yard shot, and it got away from me, so I took another one. So I think it was this one here. So the rest of them are pretty much in line. So that's, for me, I'm pretty happy with that. And that's pretty much straight up the line when it comes down to it. And another little tip I can give you, if you're trying to tune, don't come out with the mindset to tune, just come out with the mindset just to shoot. You'll find it a lot more easier to tune your bow or your arrows accordingly if you just come out here, you're just shooting for normal practice, because you're more relaxed in your natural way that you normally shoot. And again, we're not Hooter shooters. I'm not a Hooter shooter. I made a mistake at 15, retook it just to see if it was going to be the same mistake. And so it was definitely not a tune or bow setup issue. It's an archer issue, and that's the biggest thing that we got to get to. It's usually, if you make bad shots, it's not the equipment, it's the archer. So I hope this helps, and next week Lord willing, we'll have some broadheads, and I'm going to check my tune with the broadhead, and that'll be my final. You know, if I have to make any type of adjustments, it'll probably be either to maybe to my knock height. It don't look like I'm going to, but it could be, you know, just a knock height issue or a side plate, and that should straighten everything out. That's what I'm shooting for there. We'll just have to see as when I shoot them and see what I'm reading off of it. But if you're bare shafting, you know, if you're not sure on how to read it, I usually set up I got a little vertical line that I'll set up. Any type of string material do. I usually use this for aiming, you know, shooting at, to keep my groups in a line. I ain't worried about where they hit in a target, but having this string that's visible will help you as an aid for which way your arrow is going as far as bare shafting, because if it knocks right, it's going to want to veer left. If it knocks left, it's wanting to veer right. So that'll help you with the readings. You know, knock left will be weak indication for a right-handed shooter, and knock right would be stiff, and it'd be opposite for left-hand shooters. You know, that would be the easiest way to help you as a visual aid to read your arrow flight. You know, so hope that helps. Hope these little tips help you, and if so, you know, if there's something I didn't catch or cover in this, just put a comment, and thank you for taking time to watch, and God bless.